Now, after protracted discussions with suppliers who were withholding products from the retailer, Kenya-based Uchumi has said that it has reached a settlement with a number of its suppliers, which will lead to manufacturers restarting deliveries. Now, the agreement between the retailer and its supplier sees the latter convert half of the 3.6 billion shilling debt owed to them into equity. Now, both parties hope that the agreement will enable Uchumi to move forward on stronger foundations after a long period of difficulties. And joining us to carry on this conversation is Dr. Julius Kipng'etich, the CEO of Uchumi Supermarket. Thank you, sir, for joining us on Citizen Business Center. 7 months down the road for you at Uchumi, what's the current status of Uchumi?
Okay, thank you very much, Terian. It has been a long road of cleaning up Uchumi. The mess which has been there has been long, very deep, and cleaning up that mess will take a while. Where we are now is we have shrunk the company to the right size, and it has been a very quick shrinking. We closed the subsidiaries, we closed some stores in Kenya, and the 20 stores we have now, we believe, are the ones which are clean, and we are now engaging suppliers to restock them. So that's where we are now.
All right, and of course there's a court case going on, one of many. Some of the suppliers are asking the courts to wind up Uchumi.
I think those suppliers jumped the gun. If you wind up Uchumi now, those who are in court will get nothing. If you look at the balance sheet of the company, it cannot support anybody who wants to go to court. So the best way of reviving Uchumi is to bring in stocks, we sell goods, and we repay them. That's what we are negotiating. So even those 7 suppliers who went to court, it is just 7 out of 3,000 suppliers who support Uchumi. So we are already engaging them, and we are telling them that the route they have taken will lead to nowhere. And so therefore it's better that we all engage, and that is why we have a proposal on the table on converting half of the supplier debt into equity.
Tell us a little bit about your strategy. I know you were here a couple of months ago, but just to jog our memory, give us some highlights of your turnaround strategy.
As I told you earlier on, we have gone very far in the restructuring of Uchumi. This is a company which really had fallen off the rails, and bringing all the wagons on the rails will take a while. As I told you, we have shrunk the company to the right size. In the process, painfully, several staff have lost their jobs, but there was no choice there. We have closed the Uganda and Tanzania subsidiaries. That's already complete, and we closed 7 branches in Kenya, which we felt were either in the wrong side or were not profitable in the long term. One of them, unfortunately, was sitting on the new highway on Outer Ring, that is Tajmo, and that we closed because the building will come down. So all these things were initiatives to make sure that Uchumi shrinks very fast to the right size. That shrinkage was also coupled with an old malignant debt in the organization, which is over 120 days old, which the debt which is over 120 days old is 2.2 billion, and that is the one we are really focusing on. We have also now embarked on restructuring the balance sheet by selling non-core assets. We have 3 of them, and that is already underway. One of them is already been sold. The money is beginning to trickle in. That's Ngong Road.
The Ngong Road property.
Yes, and
Kasarani is next online?
Yes, Kasarani is next online. It has a case in court, but we are trying to settle out of court. The negotiations are very advanced, and in the next few weeks we think we have a solution. How
much do you think you'll get out of the Kasarani property?
Depending on how the out-of-court settlement goes through, probably something in the region of 2 billion.
What's the current value of the assets that Uchumi has?
The current value of the assets of Uchumi is close to 5.8 billion against liabilities of around 6.1. So the liabilities are higher. So the only way you can get anything is to restructure the balance sheet, inject new capital, and Uchumi will be up and running.
All right. We've got a question from Winnie who says, please ask Dr. Kipng'etich why he has refused to pay the management team that he declared redundant their final dues in the month of March.
That is coming. We had to first of all, shrink the staff. As we are now, we have reduced the staff by 2,300. The payroll now has only 1,500 staff. So we believe we have shrunk the right size.
What's the current value of the payroll?
The payroll goes to, the net payroll comes to around 41 million, and we shrunk it from around 100. So we have really shrunk the payroll, and we believe that the reforms going forward, we will settle our obligations to all our staff, all our suppliers, all our landlords. That is already underway. By restructuring the balance sheet, we should be able to pay everybody. So be patient out there. If you are a supplier, if you are an employee, we have noted your obligations, and those obligations are legal.
Who would you say your consumer is?
Our consumer is the middle class. Any Kenyan who is middle class, that is what Uchumi's target will be. And those who want to buy truly Kenyan products.
How will you compete? I mean, you're talking about the middle class. We've got Carrefour that's just come in. Nakumatt has been very aggressive. We've got Tuskys. We've got a number of smaller supermarkets within the counties now growing very fast. How will Uchumi compete?
Uchumi will compete once it is fully capitalized. We believe that Uchumi has potential. It has a future. It's a truly Kenyan brand. It is the oldest supermarket chain in Kenya. And what it suffered from over the years was just bad governance. That has already been removed. The people who mismanaged Uchumi, a lot of them have left. And so Uchumi is truly a Kenyan brand. And so the measures we have taken, in the next few months you will see Uchumi will bounce back.
Talking about bouncing back, you say it will bounce back when it is fully capitalized. What time frames are you looking at for proper capitalization?
In the next 100 days, everything now has been set. The reorganization of the balance sheet by selling non-core assets that's already underway. The invitation of a strategic investor, the process has really gone very far, and we have come to the tail end of inviting a strategic investor. We have also asked... Have
you identified the investor already?
We have options, which we have settled down. I'm not at liberty to say who they are now, because we are a listed company. But once we are ready, we will announce to the country who they are and what the deal is, because we have that obligation.
You put together a strategy that also includes online shopping. Tell us a little bit about that, and do you see Uchumi actually playing a big role in the online space?
Once we reorganize Uchumi, once we go to the growth phase of the strategy, that's when now we'll introduce online shopping, but not yet.
What will it take for you to throw in the towel? I mean, a lot has been said. We've looked at the numbers, not as rosy as, but you are quite the optimistic one. But what will it take for you to say, I have tried and I can't do this anymore?
For me, defeat is not an option. And we need to learn on how others have done similar things. For example, in the US, in the financial crisis of 2008, there were options for them to kill several companies. People like General Motors, people like AIG, but they said no. Okay, these companies support a value chain, and they need to be protected. So for me, let us not give up and say we throw in the towel. That will be defeatist. We have the skill to reverse the growth of these companies, and for me, I have that skill and we will do it. Tell
me, how much of this turnaround strategy is tied to the fact that it is your name tied to it?
I don't think Uchumi's fortunes is tied to an individual. It is part of an overall strategy to make sure that this company gets revived. Yes, we agree that it was badly mismanaged. That's not in doubt. But do we have a formula out of it? Of course, yes. And we are very clear, we are on track. Of course, a few impediments, a few headwinds come along, but is there anywhere in the world where there are no headwinds? But we must manage, and I believe that we have a first-class education in this country. We have the skills to turn around companies, and this one is not that difficult. Uchumi is not too big to be turned around.
All right. Government, of course, through the Ministry of Trade, owns about 14% of Uchumi. Jamii Bora Bank, 15%, which is the largest shareholder. What are these two which are your largest shareholders, doing to prop up the bank, the supermarket chain?
I want to say that all our reforms are being well supported by our shareholders. The government especially has come very strongly to support the reform initiative of Uchumi through the Minister of Finance, through the Minister of Trade. The PS and the Minister for Trade have come very strongly to support an initiative to inject some new capital to Uchumi, and that initiative is already underway. So in the next few weeks there will be some government injection of some funding to ensure that Uchumi is recapitalized to play its proper role in modernizing retail and wholesale in Kenya. So there's very strong support from the shareholders.
All right. I'd like to hear a little bit about your projections. Uchumi made a pre-tax loss of 1 billion shillings in the half year ended December, and I'm just curious, what are your projections for 2016? What are we likely to see?
Okay, if you compare it with the restated accounts for the previous year, the restated accounts at half year was 1.9 billion. So we have reduced the loss by 900 million, and we continue to reduce the loss. We expect that the second half of the year will be around 800. So in total, we're talking about a net loss for the year of 1.8 billion. That's already half of what it was the previous year. With the injection of the new capital in year 2, but by next year, June, we expect to have broken even. So it's going to be a very painful exercise. We are now very close to break even with the cost-cutting measures we have done, and with the injection of new capital to pay suppliers and bring the goods, Uchumi is back to fly.
Let's talk about your stock. Today it closed down, I think, at 3 shillings and 50 cents. Yes. At the close of business, it's played between 3 shillings and 11 shillings over a 52-week period. Yes. And, you know, I'm just curious, what are you telling your shareholders? Is this something they should be interested in buying because it's at the bottom of the cycle? What are you telling your shareholders?
Uchumi has had a very strong bear run in the last few weeks. But remember, by December, they're going to 11. So it's a yo-yo. It goes up and down, but a lot of it is just market sentiment. The fundamentals for Uchumi are still very strong, and with the initiatives we have taken, we believe that in the next few months you'll see the share price shoot, and shareholders should be appropriately be rewarded. Yes.
I've got a question from a gentleman. Here he says, Dr. Kipng'etich, there are some Uchumi employees who were declared redundant in 2006 when Uchumi went under receivership and they were not paid their dues fully. Is the current management aware? And if not, do you plan to do anything to the affected staff who are jobless now?
Companies are going concerns, and it doesn't matter who is in power, who is managing it at any one time. If there are any legal obligations to anybody, we will pay them. So I am aware of some obligations dating back to more than 10 years. We are looking at all of them, and as these income streams we have lined up come through, we will settle the obligations to employees, the obligations to government, the obligation to our suppliers. So all these things will be sorted out in due course once the company returns to profitability.
All right. Thank you so much for your time tonight, Dr. Julius Kipng'etich, CEO of Uchumi Supermarkets. Thank you for your thoughts, and we wish you all the very best.
And happy birthday.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. All right, we'll take a short break. We'll be back in a moment.